Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. My name is Malie, and today I wanted to take you on a quick tour of what my hoop houses look like right now. Today was the last day of really good weather that we're going to have for a while. It's going to hit the low 20s at night and be in the 30s during the day for the next week or so. So I wanted to close up my greenhouses tight and see which ones overwinter. Now I have several different plants. I have some that are not covered, some that are in a single hoop house, and some that are in a double hoop house. This is going to be a good test to see what will survive. Everything is mature, nothing is really young. So let me show you what they look like today. And then we'll come back after the weather has taken a nosedive and see what they look like then. Right here we have the first of my double hoop houses. As you can see, there is 2 layers of plastic. Maybe you can see that. Anyway, there's 2 layers of plastic. I'm going to be closing those up. Everything in here has weathered this winter pretty well. Now I have kohlrabi and kale, chichimisai, the lettuce is just about gone, some bunching onions. Most of this is really hardy. Here's the second double layer hoop house, and I think maybe I'm going to harvest some chard and maybe even some kale before the cold weather hits. So this one looks really good. We even have a living calendula right there that isn't going to be living much longer after tomorrow night, possibly even tonight. We have kale left over from the spring that's not going to get any covering. I've been harvesting off it. You can see it's almost done, but I'm going to leave it out and see what it looks like, once the weather takes a turn for the colder. We have some perennial bunching onions right there that I transplanted. This is my single layer hoop house. As you can see, I've kept the soil moist in here. The dill is starting to look a little sad. And I am going to cover that with the floating row cover, and then we're going to close the plastic. Now this side, it's still moist, but as you can see, I think we're getting some cold damage on it already. These are cabbages, kohlrabi. I'll probably harvest a kohlrabi, maybe even this one before I close this up. We have some Swiss chard. I'll harvest a little off of that. And then the last of my chichimisai. This one's looking really good. I may harvest this one before the cold weather hits and leave that one right over there and see how it does there. Everything else is harvested and cleaned up, ready for the cold weather and possible snow. So let's close these up and I'll show you what they look like once they're closed. There, we have these covered with a double layer of floating row cover. We'll see if that works. We harvested a smaller kohlrabi, and let's get the plastic closed on this. There's what it looks like all closed up. We hold all the plastic down around the lower layer with the PVC clips. Got a rock holding down the part so I know blow in the wind. This side is held by a PVC clip. And so is this side. Now we'll do the same process for my double hoop houses. And there, the double hoop houses are all tucked in for the winter. If there are sunny days above 40 degrees, I will open them up. Maybe even open them up in the 30s for a little while to let them air out. And of course, I'll open them up when I want to do harvest. Now all that's left to do is just to wait for the bad weather and see what happens to the vegetables. Like I said, I harvested that one kohlrabi. Next I'm going to harvest the chichimisai, and maybe I'll even harvest some chard. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I will see you after the bad weather goes through. Well, we're back now, and we've had several weeks of really cold weather. This is mid-January, and we've actually had some temperatures that hit 10 degrees at night. It's been in the 20s during the day, but today, if you'll notice, it is actually 55 degrees, so we had a huge warm-up. I'll put on a picture of what it looked like for the last several weeks. It's been a lot of snow. We had probably a good 5 inches or so out here in the backyard. But most of it is melted away today, and I was able to open the hoop houses. Now, it's going to hit into the mid-30s tonight, so I'll probably leave the hoop houses open tonight and then close them up again tomorrow. We don't have a lot of snow coming, but the temperatures at night are going to be in the teens again. And there's been a lot of really surprising things that have happened that I did not expect. So I don't know if there's been microclimates or if the insulation of the snow helped a lot, but let me show you what has survived the cold weather and what has not. So the first thing I'm going to show you, of course, are the hoop houses. And this is one of my double ones. This is in the shade a lot of the time, and it looks absolutely fine. Got remnants of snow on the ground. Everything in here did really well, and I think they're actually growing. This is my green globe artichoke, and it has not been covered. I've done nothing to it, and it is not completely dead. It's still flexible and green and photosynthesizing. And it has been covered in snow for the last few weeks. So I don't know if that was an insulation for it or what, but it's survived 10 degrees. Here's my other hoop house. It looks absolutely fine. Everything looks good in here. Now these are my kale plants that I left uncovered. You can see the really heavy-duty stalks down there. These are the ones that were planted last spring. And they're actually stiffening back up a little bit. This morning, while they were still frozen, they were a little droopy and a little soft. They're still softer than normal. But I think I could probably even eat these. These have done just fine, although I do say the texture is a little different than it has been. So it's been interesting to watch these. Now here's my single layer hoop house, where I've covered the vegetables with frost cloth. They had the weight of the frost cloth over them, so some of them are a little bent over, but they seem to be doing just fine. I think we even had some dill in here that isn't quite dead yet. In the back there's carrots. Got some arugula. The kohlrabi's been increasing in size. And this cabbage is ready to harvest, so I'll harvest that before I close it up. And here's the surprising thing over here. I harvested all of the chichimisai except for this one over here because it had some pretty bad aphid damage. So I left this one as just kind of to check the weather out. And it's not perfect, but it's surviving. So this has survived 10 degrees covered in snow. And the chard looks pretty much the same as I left it. And then there's my parsley. It's been smashed by the snow, but it's still alive, and I could harvest that and use it still. And as you can see up here, I'll get in a little closer, all of my parsley survived just fine. Last of all, we have my rosemary here. Now I never cover it or do anything special to it. I just make sure it's well watered before we go into the winter. And if we have a dry winter, I make sure to water it. But it's survived cold temperatures a lot colder than 10 degrees and does just fine. Now obviously I'm going to keep this experiment going, but I am really pleased so far with what has been happening. Now, as I said, I'm not sure if it's the snow cover that has helped preserve some of these plants that are not covered, but they've survived the temperatures in the teens, and it's just making me really happy to have all of these things that I can still harvest in the middle of the winter. Now, I will do another update video in the spring. Maybe we'll get a little bit colder, maybe we won't. With climate change and everything, I just don't know what's going to happen with the temperatures in the winter. Now, normally here in Utah, we do see temperatures hit in the single digits once or twice a year. I haven't seen that happen for the last couple of years, and we just don't know what's going to happen this year, but we will find out. So I hope you like my videos. If you do like my videos, please like and subscribe, share them with your friends, and have a wonderful garden adventure.